Welcome back. Now, a shock new poll by Survation in the Sunday Times suggests the Conservatives could be reduced to near electoral extinction, possibly to as few as 72 seats. So are the Tories now playing Operation Damage Control? Let's get reaction from former Government Minister Dame Jackie Doyle-Price. Dame Doyle-Price, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us your reaction to this latest poll. You're not going to win the election now, are you? So is it damage limitation?
Well, I have to say to you, Mark, that this is an election like no other I've ever experienced, because we always expect for the governing party behind the polls. And as you've just articulated, this looks like near oblivion. But that's not my experience on the doors. It actually feels a lot softer than that. I think clearly if I was a betting woman, I'd be not putting money on the Conservatives to win a majority. I think that's fair to say. But I think the results that you've just shown from that poll are far from what will happen on the night.
OK, so you've still got the fight in you. I mean, what do you think you can achieve on the 4th of July, realistically, without making my viewers and listeners laugh?
Well, the good news for your viewers and listeners is that they're more than halfway through this election campaign. But what I would say is things can happen very quickly and they can turn on the head of a pin. From my perspective, I've won 4 elections. I was only ever expected to win one of those 4. So we're used to it being a scrap here in Thurrock, and we just put one foot in front of the other. And as I say, I would say that really, I think there's a mood abroad that says that everyone's really annoyed with everyone. So there's not a positive swing towards the Labour Party. There is, let's be frank, the last 5 years have had their ups and downs, and people are very frustrated with how the Conservative Party's behaved. And as a consequence, along comes Nigel Farage to throw his sort of 2 pence in the mix, and people are getting, well, who shall we pick? And that's where I think a lot of people are. People are still making up their minds. Now, obviously, postal votes have landed, so people are casting their votes already. But we are just going to carry on and put forward the message as best we can that, if you want a government that allows you to keep more of what you earn and make more decisions yourself, then you should vote Conservative.
However, you'll have seen that well-publicised poll during the week that sees Reform UK symbolically edging ahead of the Conservatives. I'll grant you, Dame Doyle-Price, that was just an isolated poll, but significant nonetheless. So in that context, what is Nigel Farage doing right that Rishi Sunak is doing wrong? Well,
for a start, you're talking about him and the rest of the media is talking about him. He's entered the race very late in the day and he's set it on fire because it's new and it's interesting. So I would expect this to be his high watermark in the polls, if I'm brutally frank. But the interesting thing about that poll is look at that Labour share of the 37%. Now, really, if Labour were on for a landslide, they should be doing an awful lot better than that. They should not, 2.5 weeks before polling day, be falling back to 37% of the vote. They should be well ahead of 40%.
And Dame Jackie, let me talk to you about various aspects of the campaign so far. First of all, do you think that Rishi Sunak was right to call a July election?
Well, it's up to him with the advice of his cabinet. It wasn't the timing I was looking forward to. I was looking forward to the autumn, if I'm brutally frank. But, that's a matter for him. We just have to make the best of it now. I mean, one way or another, all your viewers and listeners will have a clear summer, so perhaps he's done them a favour.
Definitely. I hope you didn't have to cancel any summer holidays. Stay with us. Let me bring in, if I can, somebody that's clearly keen to have a Labour government, and that is my brilliant fellow pundit today. Susie is with us now. Susie, what do you have to say? What's your reaction to what Dame Jackie has just said?
Look, this election, there's a really clear choice. You want to vote Tory, then you're going to get sewage in your rivers and in your seas. You're going to have less police on the streets, crime rising. You're not going to have the 1.5 million homes that we desperately need, sorting out mortgages. I mean, Jackie, never met her, but, complete respect, always want to respect opponents, but work for Liz Truss. You know, the economy of this country has been devastated by the Tories, devastated. On the doors, people are afraid of the Tories and what they have done to this economy. And what I would say is mortgages for normal people have gone through the roof. Just on that, I'm not quite sure why anyone would be voting Conservative.
OK, so you see...
on all these different things, I think we've got a really clear choice here. And, I mean, I'm definitely not shocked by what I'm seeing on the doors. I'm definitely not shocked by seeing lifelong Tories voting Labour. It's making justice is being done.
Dame Jackie, over to you.
I mean, I'm not seeing lifelong Tories voting Labour at all. And I'll take you back to that poll. If that were true, you'd be on more than 37% vote share for the Labour Party. What Reform has done is actually bring another option for people who are irritated and frustrated by the Conservatives, somewhere else for them to go. And the truth is, there is no love for Labour. And that's why your poll share has gone down just as much as ours has, and Reform has surged.
Dame Jackie, I've heard about disarray at Conservative Party central office. Can you tell me about the mood of the campaign? Have the heads dropped?
No, I wouldn't put it like that. I mean, you know, there is a reason why the Conservative Party is the most successful electoral machine in the world, is because we just do get on with fighting elections. I think a lot of people were blindsided by the fact it was July, but we've all just got on with it. You know, we now know that, you know, ultimately we all know what we stand for and we believe in as Conservatives. We know there's a clear choice between having a Conservative government or a Labour one, and a vote for any one of the Conservatives does make a Labour landslide likely, and that's really the message we've got to get across.
Dame Jackie, briefly, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Last question. You worked under Liz Truss. It was a short stint. You were a minister in that government. I know you'd like it to have been a longer stint. Is the situation you find yourselves in as a party the fault of Liz Truss and those 44 days in number 10?
No, I don't think it is. It goes back further than that. I mean, certainly what happened at that time, I mean, really, Liz was in as Prime Minister at a time when lots of things were catalysing in the economy that were a long time coming. And in that respect, she's more sinned against than sinning, in truth. The Bank of England should have raised interest rates a lot sooner than they did. But if your question is, when did the Conservatives' trouble start? I mean, it goes back further than that. You know, we were master of all we surveyed in 2019 after that general election. And that all changed at the time of the Owen Paterson vote, when the government was then seen to be one that would change the rules to support one of its own. And we just haven't recovered, because I think it's at that moment that the trust gets broken, in truth. So you have those moments in time. We've never recovered that. And that is really why I think why the voters are cross with us, because they expect better from a Conservative government. They expect better behaviour.